Hey, you guys, welcome back to Voices of the Internet. Today, I don't necessarily have a specific topic, or I guess there's a sort of a specific topic, but I don't have a specific story that I need to tell, except for the story of me living in this world. The other day, was a few weeks ago now, I was with my mom and I asked her, and I said, Mom, why didn't you tell me that when I was a kid? I was like, why didn't you tell me that the world was going to be so crazy? And she just kind of looked at me and laughed because she didn't know that the world was going to be so crazy either. She could have asked her parents, my grandparents, she could have asked them the same exact thing. And I just look at all of the things going on right now, the various situations, scenarios, stories, problems, good things, bad things, negative things, positive things. I look at all of it and I wonder, how does humanity continue to cope with so much going on and having to know about everything that's going on? I'm not sure what life was like exactly before I came to this earth. I know that at any given moment on this big, enormous planet that we're on, there's always something happening in some way or another with someone or someone else or another person. There's always something going on, but having the access to hear about these things and see them pretty much in real time is definitely very new to everyone. And I gotta say, it's a bit strange. It's a bit strange to have the ability to access so much information at like the drop of a dime or the snap of a finger. And I think about how our cell phones are have become such of like it's like a fidget spinner. Our phones are like that of a fidget spinner. Like, I keep finding myself reaching for my phone, and it's like as soon as I don't really have maybe much going on, or I could be like today. I was at the gym, for example, and I'm working out, and as soon as I'm like taking a break from my set, I'm taking a moment to just breathe. It's like the first thing I want to do is grab and reach for my phone. And I've been trying to get myself not to do that. Every time I have the thought to reach for my phone, I've been trying to mentally practice not doing that. I don't think it's healthy, but these phones are so addictive, and it's like we're in a place where we become so addicted to knowing what's going on that if we feel like we don't know what's going on in the world for just a few seconds, we feel like we're missing something, or like our bodies, our minds are literally in this place where it's like if we don't have the input for just a few moments, then it's like something is missing internally. Like our bodies just doesn't know how to cope without it. People who are not really on their phones that much, who don't have social media, who don't have all these apps, I'm trying to get like you. I'm trying to get like that, to be that person, because I feel like y'all are just living life properly. Like, I miss being a kid. I miss being in the 90s, earlier 2000s, before I had a cell phone, or at least when cell phones were not as connected as they are now, when apps were not as popular, when social media was not as popular. I miss those days because there was a level of ignorance that I think humans need to have, that level of ignorance. Like, of course, you want to know what's going on. You want to know about your community. You want to know about worldwide issues to a certain point, but knowing about so much is really just, I'm here at 34 years old and I find it to be a bit draining. Like lately, I've felt like I don't have the same, and I know this is a part of getting older too. I'm not excusing that aspect of it, but I feel like learning and knowing about so many different things on top of what's happening in my own personal life, I feel like it's almost detracting from my life. Like in one hand, you think that would be a good thing, and in another way, I feel like it's not as good of a thing as it could be, or as you would think that it would be. I keep finding myself knowing about things that I really don't need to know about people, knowing about people that I don't need to know about situations and things that I don't need to know about. Like, for example, I was having a perfectly fine day. I got up this morning and um, the only thing that's kind of been off is there's this mouse or rat that somehow got into my house, and I've been trying to catch it for the past few days because I want it out of my house. I have not had this issue. I've been in this house for 3 years. I've never had an issue dealing with this. So I've been setting up rat traps and everything else, and I'm going to get this thing out of here. I feel horrible even thinking about having to kill it or harm this thing because I've seen it. I used to have a rat when I was a kid, but I just need it out of the house. But anyway, aside from that, I haven't had any other negative, bad or major issues happening that have made me feel uneasy or bad in my own personal life. But then I go on to Threads today, Instagram Threads, and I see a video of this young kid who, I'm not sure what the full story is. The story is he asked this girl out and he asked for her number. She didn't want to give him the number. So his friend is recording this on the phone, and this girl obviously is trying to cross the street. She doesn't want anything to do with this guy. And so I'm assuming they're in New York it looks like they're maybe in New York or some big city, probably New York. And he goes because he's denied his advances. She denies his advances. So he goes and picks her up and literally body slams her into the cement. And I'm sitting there, this video just pops up. I had no intention I didn't know about this video. I didn't search for it, but I'm just scrolling like we all always do, scrolling and just discovering all of this crap, all of this horrible news. And I see him body slam her. And the only thing that comes to my head is that it's not a good thought, but the only thing that came to my head was that this kid needs to just be taken away. He needs to be off the planet. Like, he doesn't deserve to live a life here with the rest of us. Like, I've been that age before. These kids were young. Like, I don't know, maybe he's like a teen or 17 or something, 16, 17 it looks like. But at 16 and 17, I would have never dreamt of doing anything like that to someone, another female especially, that was minding her own business. And just because you feel ignored, you felt the need to pick her up and body slam her into the ground and then kick her. Like, I don't understand some of the things that these people are getting into. And it makes me wonder. I know there's always been bad people and there's been crime, but it makes me wonder, what is it that is driving society right now to be so crazy? Because people are acting literally like if you want to talk about a spiritual warfare, if you want to talk about demons and demonology and dark things, there is it's not even a concept or a question. There is a real type of spiritual warfare that is heavily impacting youths, adults, and everybody in between. Babies might be the only ones that are safe, but at this point, I'm starting to think that even babies are being born with some sort of like this spirit already in them, and they just grow up and these things get acted out on. And I just don't understand it. And so I'm going about my day, and then I see this and I feel so much. I'm like reading the comments and I feel so much anger and frustration, as well as so many people who obviously commented having the same sort of thoughts as myself. That, like, how evil of a person can you be? How evil and sick and twisted can you be to have just picked up that girl and slammed her into the ground like that and beat her like that? Just is a level of vulgarness that I will never connect with. And to the kid who did that, I hope you get everything that you deserve times 10. And I hope you really suffer for what you've done. I hope you suffer, like suffer. That's all I can say. I don't want to go into that, but my point is, these sort of things get driven into our heads, and you could just be minding, you could be, an older lady knitting a hat, or you could be minding your business sitting on the couch watching TV, or you could be just intermittently looking at your phone at work, and then you come across these images and these videos, and these things are being stored in some way in our brains, and somewhere they're being stored. Even if you weren't intentionally trying to see it, you just can't unsee or unthink certain things. And so I just really start to think about society and how we have access to all these videos every day. Something crazy is happening, and we're viewing this stuff in real time, these crazy incidents. And I just wonder how these videos and how all of this social media crap is getting embedded into the heads of the younger generations and even older generations, people like myself, people older than me. Like, I wonder what that's ultimately doing to our minds, because we've never, in the researchable past, we have not had the technology. I'm sure maybe at some point a long time ago, we probably had technology that surpasses what we have now. I don't doubt that. But in the history that we can see and view, that we can pull up, there is no proof that this technology has ever existed. And to me, it's really like the technology of like witchcraft technology. Like, have you seen that movie Smile? In Smile, it's a horror film. There's a few parts to it. I think it's maybe there's Smile 1 and Smile 2. I know the next one's coming out. I'm a big horror movie person too. But usually I can watch a movie and then put the stuff out of my head. And it's like a movie. But I feel like what's happening now is almost like that movie Smile, where the person, the spirit takes them over, and then the person eventually offs themselves, and then the person who witnesses it goes off to have the same spirit. It takes them over, and they go off and do the same thing, and someone else witnesses it, and it just becomes this long line of witnessing this tragic incident that embeds itself into you, and then you go on and act on that very thing later down the road. Once it has its moment to seep into you and to do its thing in your body, you have a little window of a time where the confusion sets in and all these things are happening and you're wondering why, and ultimately it leads to the same result where the person offs themselves in front of someone else. It's like very ritualistic, and I have this big theory that some movies are not just movies. They actually represent like what is actually happening, like as far as concepts. They talk about these movies are about concepts of things that are actually happening to humanity. And I see people running around like crazy and just doing crazy things. And I'm not saying just put all the blame on films, but that's not what I'm saying at all. Maybe in part. But there's just something so weird going on. Like, everything feels so strange. Reality feels very strange. Waking up every day, living in this world, it feels so strange. It feels like I have all this home around me. There's outside. I have my laptop. I have my car and my friends and my family and everything. But sometimes it just feels like I'm here, but I just can't really fully touch my environment. Like, I'm like here, but I'm not here. I don't really know how to even put that into words. I'm here, but reality is so strange and things are so strange that I feel like I'm almost just watching reality through a TV screen. Like, it's not even how it really should be. I'm just here as the observer. And I guess that's what we are. We're observers in this world, but can we have something better? I know things are not all horrible and not all bad. I have plenty of amazing, beautiful life experiences. So I'm not saying that things are all bad, but some of the bad things, some of the just the dumbest things just don't even need to happen, don't even need to exist, but they do. And you just wonder why. Why? Why is there so much hate against the gay population? Gays are out here we're minding our own business. We're minding ourselves mostly. There wouldn't even be a pride parade. People are so upset about pride parades and they want to shut down pride and the gay community so much. But then I'm thinking the same people who want to shut this stuff down are the same ones who keep bringing it to the forefront and making it the big deal that they don't want it to be. Like they want to just shut all the gays up who are like me. I'm just minding my own business, making a video, minding my own life. I'm not doing anything to anyone. Yet there's this big attack on my community. But the attack on the community, people are saying, oh, we don't want you shoving this in our face. Don't you realize that the attack on the community is what is causing it to be shoved in your face? Like the ongoing, unnecessary, constant comments online, the government, DeSantis here in Florida, the governor, constantly just bombarding. It's not the gays who are doing this. It is everyone else that is constantly coming up with all of these scenarios and all of this crap that people are reacting to, and that is what is making it the big deal. Do you realize that if you just shut the F up and just mind your own freaking business and just live your life, that other people would not feel like they didn't have a right to live their own lives, and they would probably just shut up too and just go about their day without making a scene about it? These people are causing the problems that they want to just hush up and put away. You are exacerbating the issue. You're causing the problem by not letting people be, by doing stupid things like being mad that there's a multicolored rainbow crosswalk. That I've been to Miami, I've seen that crosswalk, and I have walked over it many times, and I never even sat there and was like, man, this is a really gay crosswalk. I'm just thinking that it adds color to the city. But all of a sudden, the governor is over here upset that there's a rainbow colored crosswalk. So he makes it a big deal, which for me, I wasn't even thinking about it being a gay crosswalk. Now I'm like, oh, it's a gay crosswalk because of the person that wants to suppress this information that they think is being shoved in their face. But they're the ones shoving in our faces. Like, I know I'm rambling on here. Like I said, I don't have like a specific story or anything today. I'm just seeing so much BS on this planet. And to think that we're all just on this big space rock that is really the size of nothing. We're hurtling through space and we have to deal with all this crap. Like some days I honestly am just waiting for a big black hole or a big mega star, to blow up, or like just take us out, because humans honestly kind of suck. Mad about absolutely nothing, hurting people over absolutely nothing, stressed out over really nothing, doing really nothing. Like, what the heck are we even here for? What are we even doing? Just we're here to be mad at each other. That's why we're here, is so that we can be mad because there's a rainbow crosswalk outside. Like the level of stupidity in this world, and I know not everywhere in the world, some places it's worse. The places where it's worse, y'all are wasting your time too. You're wasting your life, your energy, your spirit, everything else by being upset over these things. But it's just like, why are we even, what are we even doing in the USA? What are we even doing in this country? Just coming up with things to keep our minds occupied. It's hard to really, sorry. Let me make sure this thing is still going right. Sometimes my recording, this mic starts acting up, but it's okay now. Um, you know what? I'm not gonna go into too much. I see that that people are in the same boat as myself. People who are awake to the level of stupidity of others and of what's going on between people, the government, everything else. People who are aware of this are vocalizing it, and I'm gonna vocalize it too because I just don't even get the point anymore. Like, what's the plot? I'm starting to wake up, and before I remember in my 20s when I was younger, and even in my 30s, and even still, I have some goals and dreams and things that I want to do in my life. But I felt like my goals and dreams used to be bigger, and I felt like I used to have more of a drive to achieve those goals. But now I feel like even if I achieve everything I could have ever dreamed of, I just don't even know if I would even care. Like, what? So if I am if I'm like a multimillionaire one day and I'm like the biggest artist on the planet and my music's selling all over the place, I could honestly see me being in the exact position that I'd want to be in and just not even really caring because of the way that the world is. It makes it feel like some things don't even matter. Like they used to matter. I used to want things because I thought it would matter in my life and make me feel good. And now many things I've even accomplished, and I'm appreciative of what I've accomplished and what I've done. But even in that, sometimes I just feel like at where I'm at, I should even be happier. But I just don't really feel like the energy. I feel like the energy is being zapped away. And it's one reason why I'm aiming to gradually be more and more off my phone. I feel so much better when I'm not on my phone and when I don't know what's going on. That's a big part of the issue is like the world could be on the verge of just like getting ready to blow up. And I just don't even want to even know. I want to get to a point where I'm just like away from knowing. Like there was one part of me, I remember watching The Matrix growing up, and I always thought like I'd take the red pill or whatever. I take which pill is the blue or the red pill? I take the pill where I'd want to know, the reality and what's underneath all of this, what's the real stuff. But at this rate, I feel like I've almost taken that pill and I'm almost regretting it. Like I don't even know if I want to know about any more of this crap. I'm not going to keep going on and about this, but I'm going to end this with a story. This is a true story of something that I think it's something that changed me in my life. It's something that happened years ago I think I was maybe 27 years old. And it's something I still think about. And some of you maybe have experienced something similar. So here's the story. I was living in California in the Bay. I was actually living in Modesto, California, which is, if you know where San Francisco is, like along the coast, Modesto, if you go to like the Central Valley area and you go inwards into California, you're going east. From San Francisco, you're going east. There's a city called Modesto. And I used to live there, and I was taking acting classes in a city called Folsom, which is right outside of Sacramento, so just a bit north of Modesto. And I was taking these classes for a couple of months, and this class, it was an acting class, and so we were always doing skits with our scene partners, and we'd memorize our lines and come and we'd recite these skits, and we'd get judged off of them based on other people in the class and the teacher. And every skit, every dialogue that we had to remember, it was always so happy. The entire few months I was there, it was never anything sad or negative. But this was the second to last class that we had. And we got into class that day, and the teacher the instructor tells us, he said, okay, today's lesson is going to be a little bit different, and we are going to focus on a subject that is opposite of what we've been doing, and we're going to dive into this emotion of being sad. And I was like, okay, finally we're doing something a little bit different. All right, get to switch it up a bit for our second to last class. So we are we get this dialogue, and the teacher tells us to focus on like a sad feeling, focus on something just kind of negative in a way that deeply affected us, and just let it out. So he let us, the whole class was quiet, and we just had a moment to just think on this thing and just let it out. People started crying. He wanted us to cry. Like, that was what the goal was, to get that sad emotion in case we had a scene in a film where we needed to cry. That was the real point. So people were crying and letting it out. I can't remember. I felt like, honestly, I was trying to really think of something, but I felt like seeing other people crying. For some reason, it made me kind of feel the opposite. Like, I was like, I don't really know how I'm feeling, like, with all these people crying around me, and then I'm having to come up with something. But I did get to a point where I started thinking about some stuff that happened in the past, and I kind of got there. I finally got there. We did the whole class, and the scenes that we had to do in class that day were very sad, dramatic scenes. Keep in mind, this class has been going on for months, and this was the first night that we have done like a sad scenes sort of theme. So the whole class, people are crying and whatnot. So at the end of it, the instructor is telling everyone, okay, now, be able to come out of that, because in films, you might have a scene where you're sad and crying, but you don't want to be stuck in that scene, because you might have to come out of it for the next scene, or it might be a scene that requires you being sad, but then you come out and then you move past it, and you have to be able to get out of that, because some actors will get stuck in that scene and will just completely lose it. And then the camera's going, and you are continuously crying, and it's like, okay, we need to go into the next thing. So he wanted us to come out of that, and the end of the class came. He told everyone, we all said our goodbyes, and we were all, I remember me and some of the students, my scene partner that I had, her and I talked, and me and some of the other students talked, and we were all like, man, that was a really interesting day. It was a really interesting night. This was nighttime. Now, during this time up in that area, there was like a lot, it was raining for months straight, just raining and raining and raining nonstop almost every single day. Probably some of the most rain I've seen in California I grew up there, but this year was incredibly rainy. And so it was raining before I got to class, raining afterwards. And so I leave the class and I'm driving. I see a gas station. I said, I'm going to get a beer on my way home, because it was about an hour and a half drive to get back to Modesto, where I lived. And so I go get a beer. And as I'm driving through this back way, through these like cow pastures, the roads are almost flooding pretty much. And I'm sitting there drinking this beer and just driving. And comes this part where there's this turn. And I go to turn. I didn't see the turn coming up. And because it was raining and I had my old Saturn vehicle, I think I had a Saturn at that time. The road turned, and I slammed on the brake because I didn't see it. And then my beer, I remember, it spilled all over the place. And I was like, dang it. My beer spilled everywhere. So I stopped the car. I came to a stop, but I almost skid off the road. So it scared the heck out of me. And I remember thinking like, man, I need to be more careful so I don't slide off the road. So I like had some napkins. I cleaned the beer up. I put it back, and I'm like, man, I spilled half my beer. It's all in my car. My whole car smells like beer. So I continue driving down these dark roads where there's only street lights every now and then to light it up. I have my lights on. It's pouring rain, like ridiculously. The roads are legitimately starting to flood. And I see these cars ahead of me eventually. I see a bunch of cars and lights blocking the road, and then I keep getting closer, and I see that a street light is down. And as I drive closer, to the people, I'm looking and I realized that it's the same exact people from my acting class. Like there was only really that way and another way that you could take to really get from the acting class to like the main highway. So a bunch of us were here all at once. I pull up. I'm like, hey guys, like I just saw you at the class. Like, what's going on? I couldn't see, it was just too much going on. And then as I looked, I realized that there was off the little drop in the grass area. It was pretty much a cow pasture. But this woman had smashed into the light pole, which had knocked it down. She was in her car and the car was filling with water. The way she fell down into the water, there was so much water that the car was pretty much, it was water all around her. And I got out of the car, I pulled over and I was like, what should we do? Because we see this lady in her car. She's unconscious. She's not moving. She doesn't look like she's really breathing. And she's just slumped over. And because the pole had fallen down, there was some of the wiring. And I remember to this day, it was like the water was here and one of the wires had fallen down and just the electrical part was sticking out of the water where this lady's car was. It was barely out of the water like this. And I was so scared because I was thinking, if we're in that water or if she's in that water and it gets covered or falls down or twists, it's just going to shock her, shock who is ever there. So I don't know if I would do this now. I probably will wait for help, but we called for help. We called an ambulance. They were taking forever. So a few of the guys, we decided like, let's just get this girl. She's in the car. Like, what if, she looked like she was just passed out or something. So the water was filling up with the car was filling up with water. So we all get out of the car. We all go over to the car. I'm looking at that electrical wire. It's literally like zapping directly out of the water, just zapping. And in my head, I'm like, we need to do this fast. I was having so much anxiety. But I wanted to save this lady. So her door was not able, we couldn't open the door. It was shut, like it slammed in shut. And so we had to reach in, take off her seatbelt, and she was unresponsive. So she's limp as anything. So we literally have to take off her seatbelt and pull her through the window. And we all take turns. We all help each other pulling her through the window. And finally, we carry her body over outside of the water. So I'm like, thank God, because that electrical wire sparking was stressing me out. We could have all been goners. And so we take her over, we set her on the ground, and we start doing CPR the best that we know how to. One of the guys there knew CPR, so he's doing chest compressions. And there's no response at first, but this woman, we keep attempting to revive her. So for one moment, I remember she seems like she kind of wakes up, like, but it's like her reflexes or something, and she goes like, and just like throws up something. I don't even know what it was, but something like, it's like foam, almost like you have a seizure and foam is coming out of your mouth. It was like this foamy slop that just came from her mouth. And I thought for that moment that it worked and she was waking up. And as soon as that, she kind of spit that up, maybe it was her body doing its last little reflex, but she just completely went flat in front of all of us. It was the first time I've ever witnessed anything like that. The first time I've ever seen anyone just pass away like that in front of me, or I've never experienced that before. And so we take this woman, we're on the side of the road. We already called the ambulance and police. It's again storming. So think of this like a scene from a movie. That's what it seemed like to me. Like it felt so unreal, but it reminded me of, strangely enough, that the acting class that we all had. So think about this. We all were in the acting class for the first time in months, as the class, there's only one more class left after this. So for this class, for that night is the one that we chose to bring out all this sadness and these sad emotions and think of the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Think about sad things that have happened and just let those things out. And collectively, we all did that in the same classroom. And then ironically and strangely enough, we ended up almost everyone from the class that night, almost all of us except for minus a few people. The instructor, he was not there, but my scene partner that I did my scene with that night, she was there. And there were some others who were also there. And it's like we went from that class, from that dramatic moment in class, and it's like we brought that experience into life, and we all experienced together after going through all of that in the classroom, through all of that emotion, everyone crying. And then we all happened to be right there to witness this lady pass away right in front of all of us, like a group of maybe 10 of us just out there in the rain. I think there was a couple other random people there too that happened to see it. And we tried our best to give CPR. We called the paramedics. You know, it had been like 30 minutes now, it was storming, so they hadn't arrived yet. And eventually they pulled up, and we're standing there next to this lady's deceased body. And the paramedics, the police, they come up and we're waiting and kind of just looking to see kind of what happens. And we just see this lady get taken away. They put the white sheet over her. And I remember I was standing outside. It was pouring rain, like nonstop, relentless rain. I didn't even have a jacket on. But I remember standing there soaked and I just couldn't move. None of us could. We were all, some of the people there had gotten in their cars and were watching, but we all were watching this woman get taken away in the pouring rain. And I just sat there, and I remember I got in my car after that. I didn't even really know how to talk to the others that were there. Pretty much told them, you know, I'll see you next week. And I think we were all just as devastated. None of us could really talk. And I remember driving home that night and I just broke down and I just was in tears. I was shocked. I was traumatized. Even talking about it now, I've never talked about it. I've told a few friends when it happened. A few people in my life know, but I've never really talked about it like I am now. And so even talking about it now, so I'm pausing a little bit because it gives me goosebumps, because it was a very sad moment to just see this woman's life, just the last bit of her life. I don't know, maybe she was already gone when this was all happening. And like I said, maybe it was just reflexes from her body. But from what I felt like that last little moment when she was spitting up that foamy stuff, I felt like that was that last little bit of light. Because right after that, it's like we could just feel her light just go out. Like I felt it. I still feel like. So my point in, I guess, talking about this story is that with all of this energy, this negative energy, this ball of negativity that just keeps getting put out, we're collectively experiencing it. We're collectively administering it and experiencing it, whether we want to or not, just by tuning in. Just as how I chose to go to that acting class, and just how because I went to the acting class, I ended up going through that experience, which I would not have in any other case. But I chose to go to the acting class. I chose to tune in, just like we choose to be on our phones and to tune in when we don't really have to. At least as far as social media scrolling, like that is definitely optional. Unless you work in content or something, then maybe it's not so optional. But ultimately it's optional, and we choose to tune into that. But in doing that, it builds up this energy. Some of it's positive. Yes, there's plenty of positivity online, but a lot of it these days is just very negative and very sad. And I feel like we are drumming this stuff up, and it's creating a reality and creating a space that just continues the negativity, and it just allows for the continuation of the pain and the emptiness and the feeling that things are so outlandish that they're not even real, which is partially why I think I feel the way that I do. It's not just about aging. That's a part of it, but a big part of it is tuning into something that's creating something else. So with that being said, I'm going to end this here. My goal is to be off my phone more. I know I'm doing this series online. I'm a music producer. I also have a music page. I DJ. And so there's so many reasons why. And I like to keep up with my friends in general news too. But man, is it draining sometimes to have to come across some of the tragedies of this world. And with that, it says Voices of the Internet. Good night.